Hey, we sell hundreds and hundreds of hanging baskets, combo pots, and tropical patio plants during this time of the year, and they all need water. The smaller the pot, the more water they need, and the more frequent they need it. So, how do you water? One of the most important jobs at Bloomers is for people to know how to water. And when we train people how to water, this is what we do. We say, all right, first of all, you're going to use, and then let me have a visual aid for those of you watching on YouTube. If not, go to our YouTube channel and you will see I am holding up one of the gun type water breakers. I hate these because you're basically power washing the plant. You're not really watering it. Do not use these to water. Okay, I would rather you just took the hose end off and just use it right out of the hose and put your finger on it and made a spray, as opposed to using one of these hydraulic things to destroy not only the plant but also the soil. If you're watering the soil, you're actually exposing the roots and everything else. So don't use these. I've seen like people that are claimed to be professional gardeners and go, "Oh, look, I'm watering my plants," and it's like, no, you're hurting your plants. What you want is a water breaker like this one I am holding in my hand. It basically is very simple. It's the wider the better, because it's a softer. You're trying to assimilate rain. You are the rainmaker, and that's what you need to do. And you need to use something that's like this. This is a short wand. Sometimes the wands are as long as 30 inches if you have hanging baskets that are up top. But you want to make sure that it's a soft drip on your plants. Slow is probably best. So, okay. You got the water coming out, and now what do you do? If you're watering a hanging basket, I want you to water the hanging basket not only when it comes out the bottom, out of the drainage hole. I want you to water it so that it comes out the drainage hole and overflows the lip of the pot. You need to do both, because if your plant is dry, and this goes for combination pots, this goes for individual planters, where if you just have say a pot of Gerber daisies, or you have begonias or something along those lines. If you don't do that, you may be mistakenly watering it. And if you just see the water come out the bottom, when a plant dries out, the root ball of that plant shrinks. And there's a gap between the edge of the pot and the root ball. And so what happens is that water, it does not absorb into the root mass. What it does is it just goes around and goes down the sidewall of the pot and then right out of the drainage hole. So you think it's like, oh, look what I did. I did a great job watering. No, you didn't. You have to rehydrate that root ball so that the most of the mixes that are used have peat in it, and that when it dries out, it contracts, and that you need to expand it so that it rehydrates and makes that seal all around the pot so that it overflows the top. And it may take a while, and it also may take more than just one application of water. So what you're going to do, you're going to water it, okay, so that the water overflows the edge of the pot and comes out the drainage hole. Not one or the other, both. Okay. So how do you know you need water? What we do at Bloomers most of the time is we feel by the weight, and that there are even times where I'll take a pinch of soil out just to see how wet that soil is. And it's always the index finger probe. You put your finger in the pot, and if the surface of the soil is moist, that you let it dry out. Now, you can't let it dry out too much. I was saying today, it's like, the weathermen can be liars. And that what happens is that they predict that we're going to get all this rain, and we really don't. And this past week, it was one of those things.
Sorry, Harold.
Hey, sorry, Harold. Andrew, we love you. You were close. I was watching you, though. You said it was unpredictable. Andrew Kozak is Harold, our regular old-time listener from Staten Island, and his son is the meteorologist for the Philadelphia weather station. But I watched him, and he was the only one that said it's going to skirt along, and that he admitted that he wasn't sure exactly how much rain we were going to get, where other Susari said that it was going to rain.
Watch
and,
out.
It's going to get like, an inch or two of rain. It's like, well, we got nothing. Up in North Jersey and New York, they got a ton of rain.
Torrential downpours.
We got nothing. And we do listen. I kept our irrigation system off just because of that. And I'm paying for it today because we have to do a lot of hand watering, which is very, very labor intensive. So back to watering. Feel the weight of the pot on hanging baskets, pick it up, and you basically develop a pattern. You're not going to know like the first time, but you certainly will know after the third or fourth time, especially when you find out that it's dry and it weighs next to nothing. You need to get that water in there. And also taking your finger and putting it in there and feeling if it's wet, taking a little pinch of soil, okay, not a big pinch of soil, and that if the soil is a dark brown, it's moist. If it's a light brown, it's going to need to get watered, and you need to do it. And I'd rather see you water more at one time and less often. And I'm sure our listeners out there that you want to know, like, how often? Is it every day? Is it every other day? I can't tell you that. You have to develop a pattern over time, and that it eventually, because of your conditions are unique to your home, to your environment where you have your plants. And that's true whether it's you're planting shrubs or perennials or you have combo pots or hanging baskets. That if it's a little bit more shady, it's going to take longer to dry out. So you won't have to do it as often as the person that has it in full direct sun all day. So keep in mind, water is what they're going to need. And also you're going to need to feed them, because that water that you're putting through is flushing out the fertilizer that is in the soil at the time when you bought it. So you're going to need to add fertilizer to that. And it's a combination where you're going to go and you're going to use a polymer. This is what I prefer. It's not organic, but it's a polymer coated fertilizer. And it's often Osmocote is a type. That's probably the most recognized brand. I prefer the science that Jack's has, Jack's Classic. It has both something called Classic Coat. Again, it's kind of stealing the Osmocote name, but actually they were around before, and it's a long business story. Sometime I'll explain it. And that where it breaks down with heat, not just water. And then you're going to use a water soluble, and you're going to use this water soluble like every other week, maybe every third week. And that's the kind that you put into your watering can, and that you mix and it turns blue, and then you do it that way. And most of the combo pots that are being sold now are all like super hybrid, where they're cuttings, and they prefer a blend of fertilizer that's called petunia feed, and it has a little extra iron in it, and it has what those plants desire, rather than going just with a Miracle-Gro or going with a basic 20-20-20. That's good for some things, but honestly, the petunia feed from Jack's Classic is what is the best water-soluble fertilizer for hybrids like proven winter plants and all of your hybrid where it's a cutting variety of plant. It's going to do the best, because it's going to make those plants not only green but also make them bloom. So what can you do if it doesn't seem like you can keep your plant hydrated? You want to use a saucer underneath your plants, maybe something deeper so that it will hold more moisture. But you've got to be careful that you're not rotting out the roots, but that it's lasting for a little bit longer than if you just let it drain out along the ground. So use a saucer that will hold some water, and that there's a type of saucer that works underneath 12 and 10-inch hanging baskets where you kind of hook it onto the basket itself. And that way it helps, especially like say you've got New Guinea impatiens or sun patients or regular impatiens for that matter, and it seems like you can't keep them hydrated, that's one way that you can do that, and it works very, very well. Let's see. And I guess the last thing I want to say is don't water every day. It's all about watering more at one time and less often. If you're watering every day and you're getting everything all wet, you're going to have disease issues. So more at one time and less often.